What happened after Raw Oba Femi saved Seth Rollins from police and Levels Brock Lesnar? Again, the most shocking and chaotic post-Raw scene in years just went down in the parking lot, and what millions of viewers did not see on television is absolutely insane because Obafimi, the unstoppable monster who has been destroying everyone in his path, just saved Seth Rollins from being arrested by actual police officers and then proceeded to demolish Brock Lesnar for the second time in 2 weeks, cementing himself as the most dangerous and unpredictable force in all of WWE. This was not a scripted segment with wrestling referees and coordinated spots. This was genuine chaos with real law enforcement involved, with Brock Lesnar legitimately furious and looking to murder someone, and with Obafimi standing in the middle of it all like an unmovable force of nature that fears absolutely nothing and no one. If you think you understand where WWE is going with Obafimi, you are completely wrong. If you believe Brock Lesnar is still the most feared man in wrestling, you just watched that perception get shattered. And if you are confused about why Oba would save Seth Rollins of all people, then you need to hear every detail of what happened because this alliance or arrangement or whatever it is between these two could reshape the entire WWE landscape. Monday Night Raw had ended with total mayhem after Seth Rollins attacked a WWE official during a heated argument about championship opportunities and perceived disrespect from management. The attack was brutal enough that the official required immediate medical attention, and WWE's corporate office made the decision to involve actual local law enforcement rather than handling this internally as they typically would with wrestler altercations. This was WWE trying to make a statement that attacking non-wrestling personnel would have real consequences, that there were lines even top stars could not cross without facing legitimate legal repercussions. Police were called to the arena, and as most of the crowd was filing out and the broadcast had gone off air, multiple officers entered the backstage area with the stated purpose of arresting Seth Rollins on assault charges. Seth was in his locker room when he was informed that police were on site looking for him. According to people who were present, Seth's initial reaction was disbelief mixed with anger, convinced this was WWE management trying to teach him a lesson or embarrass him rather than an actual legal situation. But when the police actually arrived at his locker room door with handcuffs and began reading him his rights, the reality of the situation became impossible to deny. Seth was being arrested on live criminal charges, not WWE corporate punishment, and this was going to involve lawyers, court appearances, and potential jail time depending on how serious the district attorney decided to treat the case. The officers placed Seth in handcuffs and began escorting him through the backstage area toward the parking lot where their squad cars were waiting. Other wrestlers and staff watched in stunned silence as one of WWE's biggest stars was being perp-walked like a common criminal, the humiliation visible on Seth's face as he was paraded past colleagues and employees. The police were professional but firm, making it clear through their body language and tone that Seth's celebrity status meant nothing to them and that he would be processed exactly like any other assault suspect. They reached the exit door leading to the parking area, pushed it open, and walked Seth toward the waiting police vehicles under the bright security lights that illuminated the lot. That is when Obafimi appeared, and the entire situation exploded into absolute chaos. Oba came from the side, moving with frightening speed for someone his size, and positioned himself directly between Seth and the police cars. The officers immediately tensed, hands moving toward their weapons as they confronted this massive individual blocking their path. One officer ordered Oba to step aside, to not interfere with a lawful arrest, to move or face his own charges of obstruction. Oba did not move. He stood there like a wall, staring at the officers with an expression that communicated zero fear and zero intention of complying with their orders. The standoff lasted maybe 10 seconds but felt like an eternity to everyone watching, the tension absolutely unbearable as it became clear Oba was not going to let them take Seth. What happened next shocked everyone present. Oba simply stated, "You are not taking him." Not a threat, not a negotiation, just a flat statement of fact delivered with absolute conviction. The officers tried to explain that they had a legal obligation to arrest Seth, that Oba was interfering with police business, that he needed to step aside immediately. Oba repeated, "You are not taking him." One of the officers, clearly frustrated and probably intimidated by Oba's physical presence, reached for his handcuffs and moved toward Oba as if to arrest him for obstruction. That was a mistake. Oba caught the officer's wrist mid-reach, not violently but with enough controlled force to stop the movement completely, and the look he gave that officer communicated that any further physical contact would not end well for anyone involved. The situation was rapidly escalating towards something genuinely dangerous when WWE security and management officials rushed onto the scene, inserting themselves between Oba and the police and trying desperately to de-escalate before someone got hurt or arrested or both. There was frantic negotiation, with WWE officials promising the police that Seth would surrender himself the next morning with his lawyer present, that this could be handled through proper legal channels without the spectacle of an arrest at the arena, that WWE would guarantee Seth's cooperation. The police were understandably skeptical, but the presence of Obafimi standing there like an immovable guardian clearly influenced their decision to accept the compromise rather than forcing a confrontation that could turn violent. The officers agreed to leave without Seth on the condition that he would appear at the police station by noon the following day or a warrant would be issued immediately. They removed the handcuffs from Seth, shot warning looks at both him and Oba, and left the scene clearly unhappy with the outcome but unwilling to escalate further. The moment the police cars left the parking lot, Seth turned to Oba with an expression mixing gratitude with confusion, clearly wanting to understand why this monster who had no previous alliance with him had just intervened to prevent his arrest. Oba said nothing, just stared at Seth for a long moment before turning to walk away, leaving Seth standing there processing what had just happened. But the night was not over. As Oba was walking back toward the arena entrance, Brock Lesnar came charging out of the building like a man possessed. Brock had been humiliated by Oba 2 weeks earlier when the rising star demolished him in their first encounter, and Brock had clearly been waiting for any opportunity to get revenge and restore his reputation as the most dominant physical force in WWE. Brock saw Oba alone in the parking lot and decided this was his moment, sprinting at full speed and launching himself at Oba with a level of aggression that was genuinely frightening to witness. Brock hit Oba with everything he had, German suplexes on the concrete, brutal strikes, using the environment as weapons by throwing Oba into cars and concrete pillars. For a few moments, it looked like Brock might actually succeed in his revenge mission, the beast incarnate unleashing years of accumulated combat experience and raw power on this younger challenger. But Obafimi is not normal, and what happened next demonstrated exactly why he is being positioned as the next big thing in WWE. Oba absorbed Brock's assault, weathered the storm of violence, and then started fighting back with a ferocity that matched and then exceeded Brock's intensity. The fight that followed was not a wrestling match with rules and structure. This was two legitimate physical specimens trying to hurt each other, using cars as weapons, smashing each other through windshields, the sound of breaking glass and metal echoing through the parking structure. Witnesses describe it as the most violent and real-looking fight they have ever seen in wrestling, with both men showing genuine damage and fatigue as the battle continued. But gradually, inevitably, Oba gained the upper hand. His youth, his size advantage, and perhaps most importantly his complete fearlessness in the face of Brock Lesnar's reputation allowed him to overcome the beast incarnate's experience and technique. The finish came when Oba lifted Brock onto the hood of a car and delivered his devastating powerbomb finisher, the impact denting the metal and leaving Brock lying motionless on the destroyed vehicle. Oba stood over Brock's body, barely showing signs of the war they had just fought, and delivered a message that was clearly meant for everyone in WWE: "This is my time. Anyone who stands in my way ends up like this." He then walked away, leaving Brock requiring medical attention for the second time in 2 weeks, the supposed most dangerous man in WWE reduced to a cautionary tale about what happens when you challenge the new apex predator. The implications of everything that happened after Raw are absolutely massive. First, Obafimi saving Seth Rollins from arrest creates an alliance or at minimum a connection between them that nobody saw coming. Seth is one of WWE's top stars but has been increasingly desperate and isolated, making enemies and burning bridges. Oba is a rising force who until now has operated completely independently. Their potential partnership could make them unstoppable, combining Seth's intelligence and experience with Oba's raw power and fearlessness. Second, Oba defeating Brock Lesnar for the second time definitively establishes him as a legitimate main event threat, not just a promising developmental talent but someone who can hang with and beat the absolute best WWE has to offer. Third, the fact that this all happened after Raw went off the air, with real police involved and genuine legal consequences for Seth, blurs the lines between wrestling storyline and reality in ways that generate incredible buzz and speculation. Fans are debating whether Seth's legal troubles are real or worked, whether the police involvement was legitimate or staged, whether WWE is taking storytelling into uncomfortable territory by mixing actual law enforcement with wrestling angles. Fourth, Brock Lesnar suffering back-to-back losses to the same opponent is unprecedented in his modern WWE run and raises questions about whether his character is being phased out or repositioned as a gatekeeper rather than an unstoppable final boss. Fifth, the violence and intensity of the Oba vs. Brock parking lot brawl sets a new standard for what WWE is willing to show or at least allow to happen in this new era, suggesting a shift toward edgier, more realistic storytelling that appeals to fans who want wrestling to feel dangerous and unpredictable again. The fan reaction online has been absolutely explosive, with clips and descriptions of what happened spreading across social media at viral speed. Wrestling news sites are scrambling to confirm details and get official statements from WWE about the police involvement and whether Seth really faces charges. Thank you for watching Wrestling News CC. Let us know in the comments why you think Obafimi saved Seth Rollins, whether you believe Brock Lesnar can recover from 2 straight losses to Oba, and if WWE is going too far with these after-show incidents that blur reality and storyline.